Deputy Seán Crowe, you have 5 minutes.
Good morning. I suppose tonight's motion is requesting the government to support a European debt conference. The Taoiseach has bluntly rejected the idea. Minister Noonan earlier on also seemed to have rejected the idea. He also said that making debt more affordable is a better solution than writing it off. It makes absolutely no sense for the Taoiseach, the Minister for Finance or the government of a state with a debt to GDP ratio of 111% to say no to the idea of a European debt conference. It just doesn't. I just don't understand the logic of the government's position. The government says that the Eurogroup or Ecofin is the right place to discuss it. The same Eurogroup who promises a separation of banking and sovereign debt way back in June 2012. This is the same Eurogroup that is made up of EU ministers, EU finance ministers. And again, the same ministers are so out of touch with the reality that they can't see or won't see the impact of austerity on the young, the elderly, the unemployed, those on low incomes right across Europe. And that's where the Taoiseach is saying, oh, well, leave it to them and they'll sort it out there. The idea of the debt conference, I would see it as not just the ministers attending the conference. I think people from civic society, I think people that have actually been impacted by debt are also should be involved in that discussion. We have a new Greek government, a government who wants to get the EU talking about debt and is calling for a fresh approach. So why would anyone oppose that? And again, you know, maybe the minister, when he's addressing the debate, might respond to that. I think the government should recognise an ally when it sees one. Instead, it seems to be blinded by misguided loyalty to those who forced austerity and all that means onto the Irish people. The government's amendment to this PMB promises more of the same. And there's not a single word about poverty and the deprivation that's facing many Irish families because of debt. And it's not only Irish families, as you know, it's right across Europe. So what is being presented to us is a benevolent EU, which has been somehow kind to the Irish people. Irish people should shut up and be thankful to the bondholders who we bailed out. You know, that seems to be the attitude, you know, the message we're getting. The government amendment also says the debt is sustainable. And I suppose if you're wealthy, it probably is. But it probably is certainly under this government and its policies. And last night, 518 people were on trolleys in our hospitals. And I'm asking the question, is that sustainable? Hundreds of thousands of people, mostly young people, have emigrated each year. And again, is that sustainable? I think it's inexplicable for a government and a state as indebted as ours to close down their minds and say no to a different approach. The government should be standing up for Irish people and support the call for a European debt conference. Last September, Argentina called for the creation of an ad hoc UN committee on sovereign debt restructuring that would negotiate an international mechanism to enable countries who are heavily indebted to default in a fair and just way. Ireland was only one of 11 countries to vote against the creation of the committee, and it was the only heavily indebted European country to vote no. And again, the committee has been established. It's meeting in New York today for the first time. But again, the Irish government seem to be saying, oh, we're staying away. In my opinion, the position you've adopted is clearly against the national interest. Surely an international mechanism to resolve sovereign debt crisis would make it easier for Ireland to seek a write-down on some of its unjust debts, and in particular the unfair, which I think right across the House, most people agree, the unfair Anglo debts. So a new UN mechanism could potentially support not only Ireland, but some of the world's poorest countries who suffer under the burden of unfair and unearned, and in many cases unpayable debt. It's supposed to be part of the government's own policy coherence for development. You know, that's part of the document that we're supposed to be, you know, working towards helping those countries that are in that situation. So the average Irish citizens, me included, just wants to know, why is the government refusing to negotiate in any serious way on an international level in the best interests of Irish people. And why, oh why, would you oppose a debt conference? Because there is no, we haven't heard any. I listened to the Minister for Finance earlier on, and there was no answers there. You know, the Taoiseach in question time is saying, oh, it's up to the ministers and that's where it's going to be sorted out. But surely we should look at other ways. We heard Deputy Nolan there talking in terms of you know, where Sinn Féin was going wrong, and I suppose like the bully boy in the schoolyard, he takes a few slaps, throws a few boots in, and then runs out of the room. A lot of just things he was talking in terms of, it's just fantasies. You know, he's misquoting us. He's misquoting this party. Clearly, we want to see people moving from a situation of that they're currently in at the moment. The amount of personal debt that Irish people are in is astronomical, and we all know that. And if we're doing our work as constituents, we should know that. I'll come to an end. Anyway, but you know, the debate needs to continue. I think, you know, this closed-mind attitude of, oh, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to have it. The debt conference itself could be opened up to all those individuals, and we could come up with some serious answers to what's happening right across Europe. Like others, I welcome what's happened in Greece, the new government. It's a new approach, a new way forward, and I think the rest of us in Europe need to look at and learn lessons from what has happened there, and maybe open up our minds to new ways forward to dealing with the crisis that's facing people right across Europe.
Thank you, Deputy.